Hello and welcome to Beyond the Limit. My name is Zainab Mohammed. On this episode, we have with us here a Ccell Warrior who will be telling us about her experience living with sickle cell. Thank you so much for making time to be with us on this show. Kindly introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Lona Atieno Odongo, a Ccell Warrior, 37 years of age. Yes.
Okay. Lona, when were you first diagnosed with sickle cell? And how has your journey been?
It was detected when I was around 8 months, and then it got to be confirmed when I was 2 years after having suffered measles. Yeah, that is when they got to learn that I have sickle cell anemia. Yes.
Okay. How has your journey been like? I know it's not easy.
Yeah, having sickle cell anemia is never an easy journey. It's a journey full of challenges because you find that there's a lot of things that you cannot do like every other normal people because it becomes a challenge. You find yourself often getting fatigued, like tired because of having low HB levels. As you know, having sickle cell anemia, it's a condition that is related to being most anemic severely compared to the way one will suffer just a normal anemia. So it's a condition that affects blood, and red blood cells.
Okay. Looking back at your childhood, at what point did you realize, like, oh, maybe I'm not like the other kids?
Growing up back then, as a child, the challenges I could see that, number one, I could find myself being limited to do some other things like other kids, because of maybe getting a lot of tiredness, or even without being limited, because my mom never used to limit me. But I will find that when I'm out there playing with other kids, maybe there are things that I could not do that they can do, or maybe if I go extreme to do things that they can. Personally, I get to find that I get affected, maybe get tired easily, or later on I get to experience pain, which was now the crisis. But I never used to know as a child that it's due to the condition until I grew up understanding myself, knowing my limits and knowing the don'ts and do's of having sickle cells.
Pre the interview, you had told me about a sister who also had sickle cell and then died at a young age. Could you tell me about that and how you yourself see yourself as a miracle being the age that you are now?
Yeah, okay. First of all, we were 8 kids and 3 are normal. So out of the 3 that are normal, 1 had sickle cell. Yeah, so currently we are 5 and I'm the only one surviving with sickle cell. Yeah, the one who had passed on with sickle cell had passed on when she was 2 years old. But I was a little bit younger. Myself, I was not even aware about what sickle cell was really until when I had grown. That is when my mom also got to tell me. I got to learn that she also had sickle cell. Yes.
What are some of the things that sickle cell has limited you from having? Maybe you had dreams or maybe things that you wanted to do that you enjoy?
Yeah, sickle cell has limited me, if I would say a lot. But having sickle cell, again, these days you cannot say that one cannot reach their goals. We have sickle cell warriors who are professionals. And the good thing with sickle cell, you find that a lot of people with sickle cell, if there's another thing that they are blessed with, is they have a good IQ. They are very sharp. So personally, I didn't manage to achieve my goals and dreams because of being on and off the school all the time. And also, apart from sickle cell background then, how I used to live, it was also challenging. You find that when I'm well in school, the school fees is there. When I'm out, after being treated, maybe I'm unable to go back to school because I have utilized the term and maybe I need to pay again, and that money is not there. So, but mostly I would say that it's the condition that did limit me, because so often I used to be out of school Yes, a lot of time. So reached a point that I was like, I think with this condition, maybe I want to go along with it. So reaches a point that you feel like, maybe let me pardon myself a bit, because not knowing that I would really live to live up to 37 years. So yeah, that's what I can say.
What are you saying? At some point you had given up?
Yeah, at some point I'd given up with Ccell because personally I'd experienced challenges with it. Stigmatization at school, teachers not understanding. When you're back at school, no one wants to get the listening ear that you are out of school because you are unable to, and the teachers weren't aware. Like you see, even in this current age, a lot of people are still not aware of it. So you can imagine back in our days. Yeah, so it used to give me a lot of challenge. And when I go back to school, after missing out on a lot of the studies that I didn't have, when you get to confront the teacher, they don't understand. They'll be like in our rules back in the days, the rules were like, when you're out of school, when you go back, you have to go with an evidence that shows that you are out of school because you are sick, maybe a medical report. And in my case, you will find that with sickle cell anemia, there are some crises that one can manage within home. So maybe we'll go to the hospital, nearby clinic, then get money, get back home. But when you still go and explain that to the teacher, or maybe when you don't have that, they get to think you don't like school, or you just like skipping school. Like it was hard for them to understand. Yes.
You've mentioned about stigma. Tell me about that.
The stigmatization is like now. If I could remember back the days when I was in school, you find that kids want to isolate themselves with you, some of friends, because you'll find that if you can't do, like I could remember, I reached a point after understanding my body a little, I could not go for like PE lessons. During PE lessons, I would still stay in class, maybe extend by studying or doing something. And you'll find that kids now, they associated themselves with me because of that, like, oh, you don't like playing, or you don't like learning, you like missing school, things like that. Also, you find that when you don't want to go out maybe to play, maybe when you tell teacher you're exhausted, they think you're pretending, and now they're careless. So you feel that neglect, yeah.
How did all this affect you mentally?
It did affect me because, number one, I was not a kind of so much interactive child. So I used to be all alone most of the time. And it reached a point that it was like a part of who I am. Until when I grew up, I learned that there are other fellow sickle cell warriors out there, and realized that I want to be vocal about sickle cell, so that if there is any other child that is going through such out there, people can get to hear this show, or the teachers, other parents, because there are even parents who don't understand their children, because their parents also don't understand even sickle cell. So you find that when a child gets to isolate themselves, this is an awareness that they get to dig into the reasons why they isolate themselves. Yes.
Now, tell me about your journey being a sickle cell warrior. When did that start? I know, of course, your own experience inspired it. When did it start, and how has it been so far?
My journey as a sickle cell warrior, as I said earlier, was challenging because you see, if you're a child and you find that there are things you can do, maybe you cannot run to the extreme point that others are running. Maybe if you are on a competition, you can't. Like, I used to love things like debate. Okay, I used to love running before debate. Then I realized, hey, I cannot run. Then I stopped. Then I joined debating. Then it is a point that when you miss maybe a lot of debate lessons, you find that you'll just have to be excluded because maybe people have gone ahead and you still lagging behind, maybe because of being absent and all that. So it did limit me a lot that until I reached a certain age, whereby, because again, it's, when you have sickle cell, once you realize yourself and understand the don'ts and do's about having sickle cell, you find that it is easier to cope and walk around and do other things like other people. Now, what brings challenge is when, as a child, you don't understand what you need not to do, how you need not to get yourself exhausted, things like that. And then you find that when you don't know these things, you go extreme and you find yourself falling sick. When you're back to normal, again, you do the same maybe thing that made you got sick. But since you don't know that that is the trigger, we call them triggers of sickle cell, of crisis, sorry. We have triggers of crisis. Crisis is the episodes of pain that people with sickle cell experience. So most of the crisis pains are brought by some of triggers of the things that we do. You can find even the diet, food you eat, or the things that you've done to the extreme. So once you realize that, you know how to balance, and then you find that you live your life normal. And that is something that a lot of people get to realize when growing, because you study your body, since it's a condition that it's ongoing, it's like a permanent condition. Yes.
Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for. That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Muyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Toka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet.
Is there a point where sickle cell causes disability?
Yes, not to all, but some. Okay, number one, through a condition called AVN, a vascular necrosis. This is a condition whereby the blood circulation is cut off in the bones, hip joint bones. So you find that there is death of tissues around the bones of the hip joint. So after some time, you find that one starts experiencing pain over the area because of lack of enough supply of blood and oxygen in the area. As you know, having sickle cell is a condition that comes with having low blood levels in the body. So when the blood cannot circulate well all over the body, you find that it's a challenge for some. Yeah, where you find that again, there are people who also experience stroke when maybe the circulation of the blood or oxygen cannot reach the head. So through that, you find that people either get paralysis, because when you get a stroke, in most cases, it depends with how it has come. It can come so severe that you end up being paralyzed. Or in the same way with hip bone, the moment you start experiencing, it's a pain that goes on until a period of time where you'll have to be done a hip replacement. And in most cases, after hip replacement, you find that now disability comes by because of the fact that now the legs cannot be of the same.
Okay. What challenges do persons with sickle cell face in the country today, and is the government doing enough?
Yeah, the challenges that we still have is lack of medication. Because, okay, there are medication that are there, but they are not enough. There are times that we experience shortage. Like even currently, there's a shortage with some of the medication that people that have sickle cell do use. For example, like PNV. PNV is penicillin, a kind of medication that most people use are children with sickle cell up to around an age that they can realize themselves and out of infection a lot. Or something I forgot to mention, people with sickle cell, because of having low blood levels in the body, they don't have strong immune system as other people. So you find that children with sickle cell currently are put on PNV. And that PNV does help them. It's an antibiotic that does help them with the prevention of infections. So you can imagine when there is no that medication, the lifespan of such a child, it's short compared to our days as we were raised when there were not those medications. So like we never used, and that is why back in the days, people with children with sickle cell could not reach to attain the age of 5 years because of lack of such. You cannot always like control a child, and when you have no prevention of infection, it becomes a challenge. And in most cases, you find that when one gets infection, they are down because infection eats blood quicker. It's just like when you get malaria. You have to find that HB levels have gone down. So it's the same with people with sickle cell. So when you get infection, the HB level gets really down. And you can imagine if already the condition is about having low HB levels, so it even gets more severe. So that is why it used to be a challenge for children with sickle cell anemia to attain or get to reach the age that we have these days. But these days they can live because there are those medication. Yeah. And now we have shortage of some of those PNV. We are currently, and hydroxyurea. There's another one called hydroxyurea, which helps to prolong the life of the sickle cell. The condition is called sickle cell. So sickle cell is, you see, for normal people, they usually have red blood cells. Their red blood cells are round in shape. Their hemoglobin, it's round in shape. But ours, people with sickle cell, it can be round, but after a short period of time, it turns to sickle shape. And once it turns to sickle shape, it becomes now, it makes it hard to live in the body. Like, because now it being sickle shape in the body, it's when it's in a round shape, it moves easily around the body and helps with easy circulation of blood and movement of oxygen. But the moment it turns to sickle shape, now it doesn't move. When it reaches places like joints, it gets stuck because it doesn't move easily. And now through that is when one gets to experience the crisis pain. Now the medication called hydroxyurea, once you take it, it helps prolong the life of the sickle shape into circle shape as they are supposed to be, give it longer life in the body. So we also have shortage of it. So you can imagine when we don't have this PNV for infection and that one for the prolong of the sickle shape in the body, it's really a challenge. Yeah.
Okay. And is the government doing enough?
Yeah, government has been into the sickle cell issue, but I can say that they're still not doing enough because I feel like we are not still yet taken to the point of the way people who live with cancer or HIV or diabetes. Yes.
Okay. In terms of awareness and acceptance, has the society accepted persons with sickle cell?
There are areas where people have, because you find even there are families that even your own family, you find that there are people who don't understand you. If in one's own family they are not understood, you can now just imagine the society. So there are areas that still people have ignorance about sickle cell, and it's a challenge because some still relate it with witchcraft because of the fact that every now and then one gets to have a low blood count and you're in the hospital for transfusion. So you find someone like what kind of disease that every now and then damu inarudi chini, nini inakula damu kwa mwili, you see? Yes.
Okay. You yourself, why do you think it's important that you speak about your journey? Why is it very important for you?
I feel it's important, I speak about my journey to help parents out there, number one, to understand their kids. Because back then we talked about disabilities that are brought by having sickle cell awareness. And one of them I forgot to mention, like you can see my left eye. There is an age as a parent, I was born very much okay with good eyesight, but reaches a point that it started to deviate because of lack of blood supply and oxygen around the vein tissues around the eye area. So I was like supposed to be done on surgery when I was in my teen. And due to like what I said earlier, the situation was not that easy nowadays. Because now, being that the situation was not easy, I never used to go to clinics so often. So it was not detected early. So growing up, when I started having issues with the eyesight, now when I had to go to see an ophthalmologist, that is when they told me that I was supposed to be done on surgery at a younger age. Though still they can do it to rectify it, but it will remain like dormant. They can just correct it, but it will remain dormant. But had they done it while I was a teen, in my 10 or 9 years there, they will have been able to help the vision. Yeah, so for parents, I'm doing this so that parents with children with sickle cell, they can get to see their children grow. And once they detect something unusual, maybe even about eyesight, because these are conditions that sometimes happens when one is growing, the deviation of the eye. So you get to take your child to the doctor before it is late, so that you get to find a solution. You don't just assume that it is something that is happening. Yeah, because you can help to correct. Because once a child gets to grow, learning that there's a condition that would have been solved, sometimes they grow with that rage. Yeah.
How expensive is it to manage sickle cell in the country today?
It is really quite expensive because, like, for persons living with sickle cell, one needs to go for a checkup, like monthly appointment with the doctor, every monthly. And maybe when you are good, maybe when it has taken so long, maybe one time in 3 months. And you see, it's a challenge to some because every time you go to see a doctor, it's a consultation. You have to give a consultation, and still again, there are medications like hydroxyurea, which I mentioned before. You find that now it ranges between 30 to 60 shillings per dose, and one has to take that dose every day to manage yourself. So you find for parents or people that come from a background where they can't manage, it becomes a challenge when you have to take medication that on a daily basis that costs the cost is 60 shillings. And then pen V is around 17 to 20, which one again has to take on daily basis. Then there is folic acid, which is 5 shillings to 10, which one again has to take on daily basis. Now folic acid is for helping the iron in the body. generates, helps in reduction of, it helps with the iron limits in the body. And then hydroxyurea PNV. So there's also the one for the bones that helps with management of the bones. So you see, if you have to take these 4 medications on a daily basis, and you find that you cannot afford it on a daily basis, and yet you need to also go see a doctor every monthly, and yet again, there is food, and maybe there's studies, and maybe you are many of you, and in some families, you find that people are more than 2 or 3 having sickle cell. Yes, it's usually a challenge, very much of a challenge.
Okay. As we wrap up, what is your message to persons with sickle cell, families who are supporting someone with sickle cell, and the society at large? What is your message?
Now, my message to people with sickle cell, my fellow warriors out there, is keep going strong. As you say, that keep strong, keep the sickle. And yes, it's never an easy journey. But with faith and trust, above all prayers, you'll find it easy. Being positive about it and assuming a lot about stigmatization and just living your life one day at a time and at your own pace without having to worry about maybe your peers being ahead of you in life. Yeah, you'll find it easy, because that is what has helped me a lot. Not minding that there are people ahead of me, because I know I'm definitely different from them, and maybe if they were given this journey, they wouldn't have made it like I have. I have 2 families of people with sickle cell. Most of all, have understanding for people living with sickle cell. At times, yes, you might see someone think that they are really well, but they are unwell. Maybe they are fatigued to do something, have that understanding, and embrace them. Let us not pass stigmatization, but instead pass love to people living with sickle cell, because together we can when we hold each other. To the society, learn more about sickle cell. Sickle cell has nothing to do with witchcraft. And yes, sickle cell is a condition like any other, and one can live with sickle cell. There's usually a lot of myths going around about sickle cell, like people with sickle cell cannot give birth. We have sickle cell warriors with children. People with sickle cell cannot have families. We have sickle cell warriors that are married and running their families well. People with sickle cell can't do a thing. People with sickle cell can do things, but with limits. With limitations. Yeah, so that's my message to the society.
Thank you so much. Thank you for making time for us, and thank you for sharing your story.